'cause your opinion don't matter. This a maniac is gonna step on whomever.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, SMARONENINE. So in today's video, yes, your eyes don't deceive you. We are on Spintires. We're going old school. We're taking it way back, guys. The reason why we're on Spintires today is because I recently kicked off a series on my YouTube channel called Revisiting My Past, where I jump on all my maps and I go for a trail ride and kind of talk about the map, little information, and just how the map came to be. And it got me thinking, why not do that with my mods as well? So in order to do that with my mods, I got to go back to where it all began, and that's on Spintires. And in today's video, we are looking at the mod that actually started it all. This is the first time me and Forces ever collabed on a mod, and this is the first mod that he's ever built for me. So we're going right back to day one. So let's jump right into it. So what you're looking at today, this is the 1973 Monte Carlo. Like I said, this is the first mod he ever built for me. So what we're going to do is we're just going to check it out a little bit and just kind of give a little information about it. And it's been years since I've seen it, so that's kind of what the purpose of these videos is going to be. I think it'll be cool to go back in a time capsule and check all these out. So keep in mind, this is like 7 or 8 years ago. Okay, so this is the very beginning of what you see Forces creating nowadays, which is absolutely awesome. So this is where it all began for him. So back in these days, I was just coming into Spintires, just coming into my own, kind of working my way into the community, trying to figure everybody out and get to know everybody. And at this time, I was looking for somebody to create me a 1977 Monte Carlo. And I was asking all the big dogs back then, like Spun, Nix, Brute, Bragle. I think I asked CCS. There was a bunch of guys back then. I don't remember everybody. But I was asking everybody for a 77, and a lot of people didn't do a request. A lot of people were asking ridiculous prices, and so on and so on. So back in these days, we had a website, a forum. It was the OV forums, and I remember commenting on an engine mod back then, and just commenting and saying something like, that would sound amazing in a 77 Monte Carlo, but I can't get nobody to build me one. And Forces commented and said, well, you didn't ask me. And the rest is kind of history. We kicked it out. We hit it off pretty good. We became pretty good friends. We're still friends to this day. Unfortunately, we don't work together anymore. We don't collab on mods anymore, which kind of sucks. But hey, time moves on for everybody, right? So anyway, let's get into this. So I don't know how many mods he built before this one back in the day, but I know this is right at the beginning of when he started. So let's just check it out a little bit. So let me talk a little bit about these 5. So the actual request by me for him was for the lifted maroon one, the lifted black one, and the lifted orange one. These 2 down on the end were actually a surprise, and we'll get to them in just a few minutes. But looking at this mod, like I said, it's been a while. Back in these days when he presented these to me, I was absolutely ecstatic, excited, super thrilled that somebody actually took the time to build me a mod. And so I didn't notice a lot of things back then. I was too into the mod, and I didn't really care back then. But after all these years, I don't build mods myself, but I really know what goes into them. I've been friends with Forces for 8 years, and he's one of the best, so I know exactly what goes into them. So I'm going to kind of pick these mods apart about things I see with him nowadays and just how far along he's come in his modding. So let's jump right into it. So like I said, this is the 73. Let's check out the headlight. Listen to this ridiculous horn. Horrible horn effects back then. So let me go ahead and start her up. And what's funny is it still has that engine sound that I commented on those OV forums. That's funny. It's still a badass looking car even after all these years. It doesn't have much for add-ons, so let's just take a peek at that real quick. So it actually has no add-ons because, it's a car, and we got criticized for making cars back then. People used to say, oh, cars don't belong in this game. It's like, whatever, dude. Just keep being jealous, right? We only got one other set of tires, which is the black walls, which actually suit this car over here a lot more because of the theme of that car, which, like I said, we'll get to that in just a minute. But I like the white leaded. So I'm just going to pull this over here, and we'll just leave this one parked right here for a second. And let's jump over into the orange one. So I'm not going to pull the orange one forward. They all sound the same, you know. Let me fix this damn camera. Bear with me, guys. I'm still getting used to the camera controls. It's been a while since I've been on Spintires, but the orange one, yes, even back then I love the color orange. I still do to this day. Looks sick though. It still looks good. The maroon one, same thing. Looks badass. Back in these days, which we'll talk about the coloring and all that stuff. There's a bunch of things I gotta pick apart with these mods, but that one still looks good as well. Let's actually start this up, move this forward too, because I want to show the other two. There we go. Alright, so I'm gonna pick these mods apart a little bit and criticize them just a tad, you know, criticize our own stuff from back in the day. And it's no disrespect to Forces. He would critique his own stuff as well. But some of the things I noticed that I didn't really pay attention to back then, and I must have seen a lot of this stuff, but, you know, again, I didn't really care. So if I zoom in on the side of this car, you can see the tire kind of goes into the body a little bit right here, which, like I said, back in those days, we probably didn't care. I must have noticed that, but I don't remember it. But that's one thing, you know, this was Force's first lifted car mod, so we were kind of, you know, playing around, trying to get used to it. Obviously, the car has to either, one, come up a little bit in the back, or we have to chop into this fender. You know, there was ways to fix it, but we just never got around to it. Looking at the back, so the license plate looks good, except we just used some random font for the SMARONENINE, something that Photoshop provided. Stuff like that. And you know, because it's an old mod and it wasn't the best 3D model in the world, you can see some texture issues here on the bumper and right here on the bumper and just in a few spots. So back in these days, Forces wasn't making his own models. He wasn't building his own models, designing, whatever you want to call it. We had to actually go to websites and find these cars. And once you find a 3D model, then you put it in Blender and you kind of pick it apart, and that's how you get it into the game. Back then, but nowadays, you know, he's doing his own stuff, modeling and stuff, and you're probably asking yourself, if you was looking for a 77 Monte Carlo, why do you have a 73 Monte Carlo? Well, that's the reason, because we couldn't find a 77 Monte Carlo. And like I said, at the time, Forces wasn't modeling himself, so he didn't have, at that time, the ability to turn this into a 77. But he did, in the course of maybe a year and a half, I don't know what it was, he ended up 3D modeling, and this car later became a 77, which you'll see that in another video when we get going in this series. But right now, at this time, like I said, we couldn't find one. Another thing I noticed about this car is I'm not real sure why we chose white for rims, the rim color. I actually think there's a good reason behind it. I think he was going for chrome. But again, back in these days, he was still kind of getting used to the whole blender thing, and I think coloring was an issue for a while. But I'm pretty sure the rims was supposed to be chrome. Around the glass was supposed to be chrome, and then right here on this bumper, I'm pretty sure that was supposed to be chrome, as well as probably the bumper and the side panels here and all that. But again, there was a issue, or he was struggling with getting the colors correct. The maroon I asked for, it's not the same, it's not the right shade, but he corrected that later on in the 77. But like I said, again, this is the beginning of Forces. You know, we all start somewhere. Another thing I noticed, if I get on the front here and we zoom in, so you all know Forces is amazing with his suspension work and his animations and all that stuff. Well, guys, he started out too. So if you take a look at his suspension work here, absolutely no animation at all. It even cuts off at the axles right here, the wheel hubs. It kind of cuts off right there. You don't see that on his mods nowadays, but yeah, no animation. So again, we all start somewhere, right? The white leaded tires, I'm pretty sure this is the first time he ever made white leaded tires for a mod. It was my request. I'm a big fan of white leaded tires. I don't think modders today do it enough. And I'm talking to everybody. If you're still modding for Spintires and mudrunner, or if you're modding on snowrunner, you need to incorporate white leaded tires more. They look awesome, especially on the old trucks, old cars. I love the white leaded tire look. It just looks awesome to me. You know, it's my opinion. I guess it's personal taste, but I absolutely love the white leaded tire look. People need to start doing it a little bit more. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the three main cars. So like I said, these were the main request. And real quick, how me and Forces used to work back then, I've been asked this a lot over the years. So back in these days, when with this car, me and F19 hasn't been created yet. It was just me and Forces. We just called ourselves a team. Back then, Forces couldn't upload to Steam. It was something to do with his workshop, something to do with his internet. Sorry, he didn't have the best internet around this time, and we kind of like as a team we worked together as far as because the only place Forces could advertise his work was on the OV forum, so he couldn't upload to Steam because of his internet. So when we came together, it worked out pretty good because he used to do the building, I used to do the advertising. So I had a YouTube channel back then. I made all the videos for his mods and the ones I requested from him. We used my workshop to show off my mods that he built for me and his mods that he built for himself. And that's kind of how we became a team, more or less. That's how we worked together. You know, and every time he built me a mod, I always threw him some bucks because, you know, it's his time. Even though he used to say they're all your ideas and stuff like that, it was still his time. He's still building the mod, so I always threw him some bucks. But that's kind of how we worked back then. And then later on down the road, we created F19, which if you don't know is just a clash of me and his name. We were a good collabing team, so we wanted to collab our names. Forces being the F, 19 being the SMARONENINE. You get it. I don't have to really explain that to you, but okay, so moving on. So let's jump over into these two, which were a complete surprise. Now, I didn't ask for these mods when this mod was being designed. I didn't ask for the stock version, and I only loaded up one of the stock versions, but this car actually comes in orange and maroon as well in the stock. Let's go ahead and start this up and move this over to the front. So I was completely surprised and thrilled that he took the time to create the stock version of this car. Now, I didn't really trail with this thing a lot, just because it's stock. And the main thing that sticks out to me on this one is the rims need help. Later on, when he created the last rebuild of the 77 Monte Carlo, he absolutely nailed the rims. But of course, this is the first mod he ever did with the stock look. And I mean, we got slicks for tires. There's no tread. We got some gray, flat, bland rims. I mean, it was the first time he's done it, so it looks amazing for his first time. But you know, compared to the 77 that he's built for me recently, it's night and day how far he's come. So that I just wanted to point that out. But I remember when he gave me these stock cars, I was so friggin' thrilled. I was like a kid in a candy store. Like I said, it was awesome. But it still looks good, you know. So let's jump into the main attraction, the one I like the most. This is the one I miss the most. This was another complete surprise. I had no idea he was building this for me. And when he presented me with this thing, my jaw dropped. I was so friggin' excited and thrilled. So this is the 73 Monte Carlo Mad Max edition. I'm pretty sure his brother had something to do with this build. I can't remember exactly if his brother designed something or if his brother put his 2 cents into this mod. But I know he mentioned, and I can't remember exactly, but his brother had something to do with this mod. So this thing is friggin' awesome. So I'll go ahead and start it up and pull it forward. Let's fix this camera. You're probably asking yourself, what's with the big black, no trunk, hollow spot? That's because it has an add-on, which is fuel reserves, that kind of adds to it. And then we'll throw in the black walls just because it's more of a Mad Max feel. But this car is friggin' amazing. You know, I miss all my cars from back in the day, but this is probably the one that takes the cake. This is the one I miss the most. It never got that rebuild, and it's never seen any other game except for Spintires, which is a shame because this car was really, really popular back in the day when we first released it. And like I said, nowadays he has built me the 77 Monte Carlo. I would love to see a 77 Mad Max Monte Carlo. That would be pretty friggin' badass and kind of revive this car a little bit. But it just looks awesome. A couple features on all these cars that I forgot to mention too is I think this is the first time Forces did the working steering wheel. So you can see the steering wheel turning in there. I can't remember if back in these days he was doing the moving drive shaft, but let's take a peek. So let me take it off that. Okay, yes, he was. So he was doing the animated drive shaft. Another really cool feature about this car. Let me get into the garage zone just in case I run it out of gas switching it to night. But if I jump over to here and we switch to night. Alright, so we'll get at nighttime. Let me go ahead and start it back up. Check this out. Red headlights. I thought that was so awesome back then. And when he first gave me this car, I didn't even find out about the headlights until about 2 or 3 hours into trailing, and it switched to nighttime. And then I turned the headlights on, and bam, everything's red. I was like, this is sick. I was totally psyched when I seen that. But the car is just friggin' awesome. Let me switch back to daytime, and we'll go ahead and wrap this video up. Alright, so that's good. Alright, so like I said, I miss everything we've done back in the day. There's a lot of mods that never came over to MudRunner that we've done, and we're going to cover all of them in this video series. So I was initially planning on going for trail rides and stuff like that, but I think that's how I'm going to do these videos, is just sit here and shoot the shit about the mod and how it came to be and all of that good stuff. And I got lots of Spintires stuff to show you, as well as early MudRunner stuff that I don't have in my workshop anymore. I'm going to be showing all of them. We're going to be going through everything, guys. So I hope you're going to enjoy this series. So that's the 73 Monte Carlo, the Mad Max edition and the standard editions. And then you get the stock edition. If you guys are at all interested in this mod and you guys want to try it out and you still have Spintires, everything I show in all of my videos, all the links you need is right down in the description. As well as the map, which I didn't really talk about. Let me pop the map up real quick. You guys might recognize this map. This is Silverstone OHV. This is the original Silverstone that built by Nix 909. This map I absolutely loved, and I loved it so much that I actually brought it over to MudRunner and completely rebuilt it. So that's probably how you guys recognize it. But one of those maps that I just really loved back in the day. I was always on this. It was the perfect map to test mods and just go trailing, you know. So I had to give Nix a shout out. That will also be in the description. And every Spintires video I do in the description, I'm going to have a link to 25 of my favorite Spintires maps, which you'll probably see in all these Spintires videos moving forward. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll talk to you guys again real soon.
They say that I've lost it, but talk me down, and I swear it's gonna cost you.